Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. Where's participants? Mute all, but you can definitely unmute when you want to speak. Okay, hello everybody and welcome to our first Slight Edge book study. I'm Michelle Stuchel and I'm so excited that you're here. I hope you are loving this book as much as I am. And I am telling you, I remember when Brittany first started telling us about this book and we would get text messages as leaders from her regularly saying, oh my gosh, this book is incredible. Oh my gosh, this book has the power to change everything. Oh my gosh, this gives language to why I am where I am. And this book and the principles in this book, if you put them into practice, truly have the ability to change your life, because it's all about putting what we know into practice, right? So we're going to be doing 2 chapters a week, and I'm just going to do some summaries, and I've got some questions. So I'm so excited to hear from you and all of your insights. Okay, so he starts off the book. This is Jeff Olson, and he starts talking about 2 men. Do you remember this? He talks about the beach bum and the millionaire. And he says they were both me. And it was kind of I thought they were going to be twins. And then when he said they were both me, it was like this mic drop, right? And they had different paths, different results, but they were both the same person. And he said it wasn't an overnight transformation. It wasn't lightning striking or a mountaintop experience. It wasn't that he changed who he was. He changed what he did, and how to get from point A to point B is what this book is all about. And, the Bible says that knowledge is great. We want knowledge, but knowledge puffs up. Applied knowledge is wisdom. And the Bible says, seek wisdom, right? Not just head knowledge, but how do we live this out? And that's what this book is. Okay. Do you remember he talks about his day of disgust? The moment of impact that we sometimes hit, that moment in our lives when we come face to face with, I need to make a change, like that discontent that drives you to make a change. And he made the point that getting from point A to point B is not just about being a super achiever or more action, because the world is full of people who work really hard, but they get kicked in the butt by circumstances or, whatever it is. Working harder is not the answer, right? He said there was something else besides just working harder. And he had the belief that anything could happen. And he rose to the top of a company, and then what happened? He lost it all quickly. And that's when his night of despair, he had his day of disgust, and then he had his night of despair when he had risen to the top and all of his hard work was gone. All of a sudden gone. And so he said he needed to sit down, start carefully, methodically, systematically sorting through the mixed up pieces of his shattered life. There had to be some logic here, and he had to find it. I love that. That stuck out to me so much, because what did he do? He took time to think, to reflect, and to analyze. Do you remember the definition of insanity? Who knows the definition of insanity? Someone unmute and tell me what the definition of insanity is.
You keep doing the same over
and expecting a different result.
Yes, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Exactly. So he sat down and he thought and evaluated carefully, methodically, systematically. He said he had to be some logic and he had to find it. Do you remember what he found? What did he find? Both the seeds of both the beach bum and the millionaire lay in the simple actions he took every day. What got him to be a beach bum with no money, broke, mowing lawns, was because of the simple actions he took every day. What got him to be a crazy, uber successful entrepreneur were the simple actions he took every day. The secret was in the simple actions he took every day. And when he stopped, he realized, do you remember, this was so interesting to me? He said that he stopped taking for granted, because he was just an average guy, that he was doomed to have an average life. He basically said no to a victim mentality, right? And he realized that the very activities that got him to be successful and to keep his head above water, if he would keep doing them day in and day out, even when he was achieving success, would cause him to be uber successful, right? But that's what he wasn't doing. He would have success, and then what? He would stop. And so float backwards, right? The myth is that you can stay the same. I live in Savannah, so I'm 45 minutes from the beach. If I go into Tybee or to Hilton Head and I get in the water, I don't stay in the same place where I got in the water. I drift. And so the myth is that if you get to a certain place, you can coast. So when you coast, you actually sink. And he says the same activities that take us from failure to survival also take us from survival to success if we would just keep doing them in every area of your life. What are some of the areas of our life that we want to have success in that we can apply these principles to? And then give me some examples.
Finances, marriage, kids.
Yeah, give me an example of finances. Like what would be a simple action?
As far as turning from debt to being debt free.
Sure. Like what would be an action, a small action that you could do in your finances that would, if you did on a daily basis, compound effect would lead you to success?
You could put away $5 a day, $10 a day. You could compound it that way, or even $1 will eventually then turn to invest it. But there's some that you can escalate, do 1, 2, 3 different ways to do it.
Absolutely. Simple actions. What about relationships? What about in your marriage? What's a simple action that can compound over time?
Communicate with your spouse every single day in some shape or form.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little random acts of kindness.
Mm-hmm. In all relationships, right? What about personal growth and development?
Read 10 pages a day.
Read 10 pages a day. Shoot, for most Americans, if they read 5 pages a day, it'll change their lives. Because most of them don't even read. That's right. What about in our business? What about in our business?
Doing a little bit of IPA every day, consistently every day.
Yeah. Talking to people about plexus every day. Sorry, go ahead.
I think for me, it's doing the hard thing, pushing and doing a hard thing every day, which I'm trying to do. For me, that would be talking to people I don't know. Melanie's so good at that, going up to people and starting a conversation.
Yeah, it can be a hard thing. And his point is, what I love is that none of the things that we've listed here, it's not rocket science. Do you remember how he made the point? We know what to do. It's just a matter of doing what we know, like health and fitness. Everybody knows that if you eat ice cream every single day and fast food every single day, it's not good for you, right? Or you've got to move your body. I mean, intuitively what to do. It's a matter of doing it. We know what to do to make us an outrageous success. If you know how to survive, you know how to succeed. And the key is, according to Joe Olson, is that you have to keep doing those things. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can read her. Oh. Okay. And he says, this is what 99.9% of people don't do. And he makes the point, what are these things that make the difference? They're so simple that it's easy to overlook them. Saving the few dollars, reading 5 pages a day, exercising every day, not eating after 8 p.m., sending the message, touching base with your parents. It's those little things that when compounded over time, yield enormous results. And he calls these success habits, he calls them simple daily disciplines. These simple productive actions repeated consistently over time. And you already know, he says, you already know how to do everything it would take to make you an outrageous success. All you have to do is keep doing the things that have gotten you this far. Okay, so we know what to do intuitively, right? Whether it's finances or living below your means, not putting everything on a credit card, reaching out to people about Plexus, following up with people, talking about the opportunity, taking care of your health, taking your products for that matter, right? But and he says you just have to keep doing the things that have gotten you survival. But what happens? Obstacles come up, right? What are some of those things that prevent us from doing those things? Let me say it this way. What can you do to anticipate obstacles, and what can you do to overcome them?
I have something that came to mind, even though I'm new, but just like reminding yourself why you joined, and like, because there's always going to be like something new. Someone's going to come out with a new business that sounds like amazing. Oh, have you tried this other collagen that's not yours? Or I don't know. There's just always something newer, better, or what people will say. But like just reminding yourself like what you have is, and it can go like to like your so many different areas of life, like why did you marry your spouse, why did you all those different things. Yeah.
Yes, I love that, Amanda. Going back to your why, 100%. Why did you start your business? Why are you doing what you're doing? Absolutely. It was interesting. I don't know if any of you were on the call that I did or watched the call that I did for Natalie Dolan's team. And I didn't get this. I didn't come up with anything this smart, but I remembered it. He said, a lack of self-discipline is just a lack of knowing what you want. Because when you know what you want, it's very easy to say yes or no. So having that why, like if I'm trying to lose 5 pounds, but Ben & Jerry's is on sale, what do I really want? Immediate gratification? Or do I really want to lose the 5 pounds? I mean, that's a silly example, but okay, that pair of shoes is really fantastic and they're on sale. But what I really want is to throw off the chains of debt. So do I want the pair of shoes that badly? Or do I want to be free and to build legacy wealth? Knowing why, 100%. I love that, Amanda. And that's the slight edge. He says that there's a beach bum and a millionaire inside each one of us, right? So what makes the difference in which one you become? Do you remember what he said? Who makes the difference? You do. Now listen, he says this blew me away. You have complete control over the direction of the rest of your life. You have complete control over the direction your life takes. So we're getting deep. How would your life look? What would change if you really believed that? what would be the thoughts running through your head? And then how would your actions change?
Can you ask the question again, Michelle?
Yeah, if you believed, he made the statement that you have complete control over the direction of your life. You know, what direction does your life take? If you really believe that you're the captain of your own ship, what would change in your life? What would your life look like if you believed that you had complete control?
Well, if that is the case, and if we really truly did believe that, then everything would change. Everything that was our heart's desire would change. We would at least be working toward it. It wouldn't be an overnight, but we would at least be working toward it if we truly believe that, I would think.
Yeah, I agree. Because you're taking ownership. Like, I have ownership, so I can move toward it.
Michelle, I just think of the word stewardship, and I don't know, just that's what comes to mind is just like, and I don't know about everybody else, but I forget like all the time, and I have to renew my mind. Like, I am a steward of my business, you know, like, and if I don't do this, this, and this, then I'm not being a good steward, you know.
I love that.
Daily, weekly, monthly.
Yes, Amanda, that the parable of the talents, the minas, is my favorite. Favorite. That's right. What God
Can
gives.
you-
Sorry?
Can you hear? Am I coming through? Because every time I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I think my service is really bad. So every time I was trying to talk, I think it wasn't going through. So I didn't know if I can say something. But along with that, I was just thinking of the Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And if we really believe, I can actually do and accomplish everything He's given to me in my fitness, in my health, in my work, in my ministry, in my finances, like every single thing we are able to do through Him. He's given us that authority to be able to tap into, through Christ. Christ can do everything. He can walk on water. So, like, if we really believe that, I feel like that's the ultimate, that is arriving. It's like, we really believe that I can do it all. Not only can I do it through His strength, He's going to give me the strength to be able to overcome and to accomplish these things, but I'm able to do it for His glory. So as I'm doing these things and I'm believing I'm doing it through Christ and for Him, for me anyway, that gives me such more confidence and excitement to want to wake up and say, what are we going to do today, Jesus? How am I going to be able to be more effective to accomplish all that you have for me today, and not continue to just fall in this same pattern, but I'm going to continue to get better every day, glory to glory to glory.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And Caitlin, you basically echoed that in the chat. She said, not putting off things and just doing it because you can, because of Christ's strength in you. I love it.
Yeah, Michelle, I think also that it squashes the victim mentality and excuses that in this narrative that we build up for ourselves of why we can't be successful, because this, and that. And yes, I think that this business really, it helps to uncover a lot of the things that have even built up those walls. But taking those small actions every day and knowing your why really helps to propel you past those walls and break them down. So that's what I thought of.
Yeah, I love that, Madison. And listen, there are people on this call that have walked through, have been to hell and back with health or with relationships or whatever. And for everybody that could for some people, like he said in the book, circumstances can kick their tail and some people give up. But there are people on this call that have said no, that have overcome. And those giants have become their food. The stumbling blocks have become their stepping stones. And they are walking in destiny, becoming a pathway of hope for multitudes. because they realize that they can make a change by continuing to take the right kind of actions and move forward. I love that so, so, so much. Yes, changing your attitude. Changing your attitude, exactly. Which leads us, Marlene, thank you for that segue, into chapter 2. Chapter 2, the first ingredients. And Tracy, of course, I thought of you with that quote, do the thing and you shall have the power. And Ralph Waldo Emerson said that. And Tracy Crosby says, do the ding dong thing and you shall have the power. Because it's true. So he starts off chapter 2. He said, I thought this was so funny. He hated sales. Someone recommended he goes into sales and he hated it, but then he fell in love with it because of the training. And look, that was for me. Nobody wants to be sold to, right? Nobody wants to be in sales, but we're all in sales. Being a human is being in sales. But it was the training and the personal development that really spoke to him, right? And he said the first ingredient, which is so necessary, is the right catalyst. And he makes the point that it's not just the how to do something, but it's the action that is the difference. And what drives the action is the philosophy, is the worldview, is the thought, the way we think about simple, everyday things. He says it's the attitude behind the actions that keep those actions in place. Does that sound familiar to anybody? What do we do all the time? We just don't call it philosophy. We call it what?
Thought model.
Yes, that's right. I saw you mouthing it, Angela, 100%. As a man thinks in his head, as a man thinks in his head, as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. And he talks about the thoughts. Well, let's talk about the philosophy. He says, the philosophy is your thoughts, your attitudes, your perspectives. But before he talks, he makes the distinction between thoughts and emotions. And did anybody else bust a gut laughing when he talked about emotions versus standing stills? Why is it dangerous to live by emotions?
Because they can carry you to all kinds of crazy places.
Yes.
Emotions can lie. They can
Yeah.
create a false narrative.
Yes.
Because they change.
Yep. Motion. They're motion. They're all over the place. 1 minute I'm on the top of the world. The next minute I'm in the pit of despair. What else? Can bring you up, but bring you down. Yep. They can be deceitful. They can define your or they can affect your perspective, but they're not necessarily truth, right? Your feelings just are what they are. Like there are certain times of the month I feel like a fat cow. Does that make me bovine? No, I'm not a heifer. I may feel like a fat cow, but I'm a human. But my feelings can take me somewhere else, right? And it's just in everything, in your marriage, in your relationships, in your work, when we go by emotions, and especially like when you signed up for network marketing, you signed up sometimes for the highs and the lows. I've had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in the same hour before, not even the same day, the same hour. But it's part of we deal with people, so we're dealing with emotion. So knowing your philosophy and knowing your thoughts and knowing your why is so important to ground you and to affect where you're going and your reality, right? Your thoughts, because a positive thought turns into positive action, attitude, which results in positive actions, which results in positive circumstance. And here's the scary thing. The same is true for negative. If you have negative philosophy, that turns into negative thoughts, that turns into negative actions and a negative reality, right? So your philosophy is what you know. He makes the point, how you hold what you know and how it affects what you do. You know, you look at a man's actions. It was so fun. This morning, Kaya and I, my 6-year-old, are reading through the book of Mark. I mean, we're like on chapter 2. And it was the section where the friends lowered the paralytic through the roof. They removed the roof because they couldn't get to Jesus, and they lowered the man through the roof. And then Jesus says to them, I see your faith. And I asked Kai, I'm like, how did Jesus see their faith? And she said, well, Mommy, they lowered him through the roof. Exactly. He saw their actions. He didn't see a feeling. He saw their actions. And he says the slight edge and everything, it's not what you know, it's what you are doing. Because what you think affects how you act. He saw their faith, it was action, right? So knowledge puffs up, but applied knowledge is wisdom, right? Now, this next section, he talks about life wisdom. Do the thing and you shall have the power, right? The action, you know, your philosophy is what you know, how you hold what you know, and how it affects what you do. And he says, show me what a man does, and I'll show you his philosophy. And then he talks about what Thomas Watson, the founder of IBM, said, the formula for success is quite simple. Double your rate of failure. What did you guys think when you read that? Double your rate of failure. How did that hit you? Did that excite you? Did that overwhelm you? Did that scare you? Tell me your thoughts.
I thought it was great because it made me feel like if I'm going to double my rate of failure, that means I have doubled how much I'm doing. I was like, oh, that means you're doing, if you're going to fail more, you're working harder. So that actually made me feel better.
Yeah, I love that, Deborah. 100%.
It just made me think about saying failing forward. So yes, you're failing, but you're moving forward. So, you know, just keep failing and hopefully learn from your failure so that you can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
In it, he says, I'm sorry. But in it, he says the formula for success. So it's almost that it's like hopeful, like, okay, you will get success and failure is just part of it. So it kind of makes it okay. Like, you know, normally, I know for me, I'm very, you know, fearful of failure. So a lot of times I will create inaction in me, but knowing that it's okay, it's just part of it, that it almost like it gives you permission, like to be, it's okay.
I totally love that. Hi, AJ. Totally get that. And there's a book for network marketers and it's called Go for No. And his whole premise is the more no's you get, the closer you are to a yes. I mean, think about if Thomas Edison had given up at 9,099 tries of the light bulb, or Michael Jordan when he didn't make the team and he gave up. I mean, just that drive, that knowing that it's just part of the process of growth, like a baby learning to walk. I mean, when Kaya was learning to walk, if she fell down, she didn't just say, well, this walking thing must not be for me. She just got back up. Failure is not, Thomas Edison has subscribed to the failure is not an option philosophy. I've not failed. I've simply discovered 10,000 ways that don't work. when we were at Ruby's on the Rise, I think it was Genevieve that said this, and we say it all the time on our team too. You have to be willing to be a disaster before you're a master. You have to be willing to be a disaster before you're a master. And I feel like we have, does anybody else feel like this? That we have improperly defined failure. In my mind, falling is not failure. Failure is not getting back up and trying again. If you make a mistake, it's just a mistake. It's just a fall. Just get up and keep going. Okay, so this whole chapter is about the first ingredient and the philosophy, right? Why did he say, he made the point about why lottery winners lose? Why do lottery winners, most of the time when people win the lottery, they end up bankrupt? Do you remember that? Why is that? And what does that teach us?
Because they haven't learned the way to steward what they've been given. They have no clue what to do with it. So they just blow it all.
Yeah, they didn't change what?
Their philosophy.
Yeah. They're thinking about money. Like, think about it. If someone does the reset, but then doesn't continue the good habits, doing the things that they know to do, you can lose weight and then pick it right back up again, right? Or you take products for a month and then forget it. You go back to the same habit. You don't keep doing the very things that got you the results in the first place, right? It's changing the relationship and changing the way that we think. And then he goes on to say, successful people do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. And he talks about time, cultivating time. He says there's a natural progression to everything in life. You have to plant, cultivate, and harvest. What did that speak to you guys? How did that encourage you, or what did that say to you? How does this principle play out in life or in our business?
Takes time.
Say it.
Everything worth having takes time.
That's right, Joel.
You have to work. You have to be willing
Yeah.
to work.
That's right.
It also made me think about, like, when we get a customer, like they want to take triplex, and then we do the welcome call with them, and then we do all the retention with them, and we caption about the business with them. And if we just got them signed up for triplex and then that was it, then it's not going to result in anything.
So
They're
what would
not-
need to happen for them to get results?
You need to work with them and do the retention and encourage them and give them a plan of how to do it so that they can be successful with their products,
Mhm. Yes,
and follow up.
that's right. Do you remember in Atomic Habits, when we read Atomic Habits, it's the compound effect? Someone tell me what the compound effect is.
I think it's momentum.
It does yield momentum, but what is like the compound effect? It's those simple actions taken on a daily, consistent basis that eventually will hit exponential growth.
Yeah.
And see a skyrocket. I think chapter 3 or 4, we're going to talk about it. And remember in chapter 1, he says it's those very actions that are just as easy to not do as to do that will yield those compound effect. But you've got to plant those seeds and then give it time for them to create a harvest, right? And a lot of times we don't like the time aspect because we want everything on an instant message. We want everything now, but everybody has a timetable. Relationships have a timetable. People have a timetable. This is not a bag of popcorn. These are people, and the best things in life, just like Joel said, take time and they take effort and cultivation, right? The best relationships take time and an investment from it. Okay, then he talks about this whole thing, this whole chapter, the first ingredient. He's talking about a catalyst, and he said the slight edge can be the right catalyst for you. He says, knowledge doesn't change your life, applied knowledge does, and that's wisdom. So his whole point about having a catalyst is that slight edge, that bias towards action, to doing the things every day, and your philosophy can be the catalyst that you need to make all the how-tos work, because we intuitively know what to do. We simply have to do them. So here's kind of a deep question. Brittany asked me this today because he talked about your philosophy. And she asked me, so Michelle, what is your philosophy? So my question is, what's your philosophy and what attitudes drive you? I'll give you she said hers was the compound effect. The right actions taken over time will yield the compound effect in every area of life, your health, your finances, nutrition. And if you just stay the course, you will get there. You can trust the process. I see it play out in her life, in her nutrition, in her business. It's not crazy super activity. It's the right actions over time. Christina's was everything is figure outable. I can learn everything. I can learn anything, and I can become a master of it. So what are some of the things, what are some of the philosophies that drive you, that shape you taking the right kind of actions? Did any of you think about these deep issues? Tracy said, learning to trust God's process and timing.
Yeah, for me, it's very much the same as that. Like, that's one of the most powerful things I've learned that applies to every area of my life, but especially my business as well, is that we have no control over the outcome. That's up to God. That's up to other people making their decision to show up. And it's like when you talk about planting seeds, and you don't control what's happening in the ground. You just control what you're doing. You control that you keep showing up. You can control that you keep doing the things, but you don't have any power over the outcome. So it's that freedom of releasing the outcome and continuing to show up in the activity every single day. And it takes the weight off of it, right? Then you're not coming from a place of pressure or need for someone to sign up. You're just really wanting to serve them, just showing up in their life, just building relationship with them, because you've released that outcome for Jesus to do what he needs to do in their life. And you're not accountable to that. You're only accountable to you showing up and being authentically present in what he's doing with you.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Love that. And you can trust the process when you're doing the right things, when you're watering, when you're giving it the sunlight. Again, it's compound effect. The outcome. I love what Cecilia said, faith over fear. 100%. Anyone else? Marlene and Joel said to develop habits that benefit my life in a positive way and making them non-negotiable. 100%. The 1% better every day from Atomic Habits, right? Getting 1% better every day.
I just thought of something too that Brooke Hemingway said one time in a training she was doing, that every time we continue to show up and do the things we've told ourselves we're going to do, we're building trust with ourselves. And so if you make a commitment to exercise, you make a commitment to do IPA, you make a commitment to whatever it is, if you show up and actually do it, you've now built trust with yourself that, hey, I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. And that creates this momentum in your life for continuing success.
Yes, exactly. James Clear says the same thing in Atomic Habits, 100%. Making a vote for the person you are, absolutely. You're building time freedom for yourself when you show up and do it as well. Absolutely. Not comparing our beginning of the hike to someone's middle or mountaintop. That's wisdom. That's 100% wisdom, Amanda. Yes, casting a vote each day for who I want to become. And you do that by taking the actions. But do you see, I love what he talks about, philosophy and actions. It's both and, right? Because the philosophy drives the actions. Your thought drives the actions. So like one of my philosophies is, Jesus came that I may have life and life abundant. And there's always more. Jesus always has more. And I'm going to be faithful with what he's given me. So I'm going hard after the more. And he's got it for me. So game on. And that drives my actions. So, yes. Any other final thoughts about chapters 1 and 2? All righty. Well, I would encourage you, if you didn't think through what your own philosophy is, spend some time this week thinking about that. Like, what are the prevailing thoughts and attitudes? What's your philosophy that drives you? Because you do have one. And if you don't know what it is, look at your actions. And if you don't like it, do some thought models to choose what you want to be your driving philosophy. Because just like he said, remember in chapter 1, he said he stopped to think methodically about it and he realized the difference was in his daily decisions. And so he realized that he could be successful by doing successful things, the little actions every single day to drive him where he wanted to go. And that was his philosophy, that he could. I'm really excited about this study. Leah's going to be doing chapters 3 and 4 next week. And that's all I have for tonight. So can't wait to see y'all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.